So in the long range meta video that I just put out, a lot of people told me, hey, look, your TTK is wrong on your spreadsheet for the Bruen MK9, that I hadn't updated it, and then also even True Game Data hadn't updated it, which is where I pull a lot of the data from, right? Most of the data actually, but I do spot check and hand test certain things, especially for scenarios like this, to give you an example of how this didn't take effect. And it doesn't even really matter. On top of talking about this brand new Shadow Titan kit that's specifically for the Bruen MK9, we'll talk about how that fits in because it has a different damage profile and rate of fire that could actually make it pretty good depending on how you want to use it. Long range is a little bit limited because it uses this 300 blackout rounds, which typically have a slower bullet velocity. So when we go to True Game Data's site here, you can see it only has 2 damage drop-offs. Essentially, this would be the maximum damage over here on the left, and then on the right, this should be the minimum damage, but this is more the middle damage. And then there is actually another drop off that he's not including here that happens somewhere around 370 to 400 meters, depending on the attachments. Yeah, you heard me correctly, 400 meters. And we actually tested this in stream. I know some people don't realize that I do some testing and I typically do it on stream so I can kind of demonstrate, especially when new weapons drop or whatever the case is. So we did some testing with the weapons. You can see right here, when I go ahead and look at this, it's 1262. And in right here, you're going to see I hit this person from about 400 meters. I line up the shot. It takes a little bit of while because there is significant bullet drop. You can see that this is a normal hit marker. And when this gets totaled out, we get a new damage of 1288. You do the math there, it comes up to 26. So the main reason it's not included here is because it's not really a practical one. Even though they nerfed the TTK for its min damage, you don't actually challenge targets at 400 meters, so it doesn't really impact the weapon. Even though they changed the TTK for the min drop off, it actually doesn't impact the gun because this furthest damage drop off, which we'd have here for these damage values, happens so far you never actually see it. So in reality, we essentially have this as our drop off unless you get in the habit of challenging people at 400 plus meters. On top of that, we've been able to look at the Bruen MK9, which has a similar damage profile, but it is slightly different. This is the one that I think they want to have for the Bruen because it makes sense. It has the multiple damage drop-offs, and then right here, like it could be a 24 damage or something like that. You can see up close, this thing does 640 TTK, which is pretty good, especially up close. That means it becomes very viable as a sniper support, not necessarily as a long range option, even though you can boost the bullet velocity with kind of bugging out the game because the game is buggy inherently. You can do it. It's not going to give you enough bullet velocity to really be able to challenge people at 70, 80 meters with relative consistency. And its TTK at long range is close to 900. So there's a lot of other options that have better bullet velocity, as low recoil or even lower, and a little bit more consistency. So the specific example I wanted to give for the Bruen is if you look over here, you can actually see right here, it says that the minimum damage range is 386 meters. And that's where you're gonna get that last damage drop off. So essentially from 30 meters up to about 400, you're not gonna get any damage change. And so that's specifically how it's coded in game. This probably was meant to be a 38.6 or something, who knows how that ended up, but it's been pretty much that way for a while. So even though they nerfed it, they didn't really nerf it, if that makes any sense. On top of that, the new one here, it kind of sucks because when you get in a situation here, it only has 567 bullet velocity, which kind of sucks. Like in general, that's like SMG level. So that's why I said this could be viable. You'd really have to speed up the ADS speed, maybe build it that way, because it's not going to be very viable in terms of long range. And you can see right here, the ammunition's blocked out. But for whatever reason, if you put it together in the opposite order, you can go ahead and add the ammunition you want, whether that's going to be the high grading rounds, which could be good, or even the high velocity rounds, which will go ahead and boost that up. And you can see that's almost 1,000 there. And then when we put on the conversion kit, it'll drop that down to about 700, which makes it much more of a sniper support option as the option in general. So that's kind of how we build it out. We can't really do the same trick with the barrel or the muzzle. And then that's kind of how we can have the attachments. Again, if you want to build for ADS speed, you might have to change some of the attachments here to go a different route. And you are kind of limited because there aren't a ton of attachments that are going to help you out here. There are a few that can help you out. For example, you can do a build something like this. Nothing crazy. Like I said, it's not necessarily something I would use, but It's definitely a little bit more mobile. It could be that sniper support option you're looking for if you've been kind of bored with some of the options after the update. But based on the testing, yeah, solid, close, medium range, and you're good to go. Like I said, you build it this way, you can enjoy the gun for what it is, but definitely not that long range and built-in suppressor because it's kind of built in that way. That's kind of, you're getting 2 attachments in one. Let me know, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's a bug? Do you think it's something they'll fix? And what are your thoughts on this new aftermarket part? Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.